Hello, welcome to my channel. I am Nsah Mala. I hope you're all doing fine. Today I want to talk about something very commonly done. I want to tell you guys to stop confusing dead and death. Stop confusing between dead and death. Because this is very common when we observe everyday communication online or offline. The very first thing you need to know is that both dead and death come from the verb to die, okay? But they are pronounced completely differently. The reason why people continue to confuse them is first because they do not understand what class is, but most especially because people mispronounce them. If you pronounce them well, you will not confuse them. If you realize that this is dead and this is death, dead, death, then you will avoid the confusion. But let's start with where do they come from? Both of them come from the verb to die. And what does it mean to die? It means to stop being alive, either suddenly or slowly. For example, over 50 people died in the accident or in an accident on the Melongchang Road this week. We can use an accident here, no problem. This is the first time we're mentioning it. So over 50 people died in an accident on the Melongchang Road this week. That's in Cameroon, okay? That's in Cameroon, which is a very sad thing. And we hope and pray that God grants eternal rest to the souls of all those who died. And that something is done to stop all those deaths on the roads. Okay, another example. She died of a heart attack, or she died from a heart attack, or she died of her injuries, or she died of from her injuries. You can also say, do they count people who die with COVID-19? Do they count people who die with COVID-19? This actually means people who have died with it when they die, or people who have it at the time they die. Now, another example will be many people have a fear or the fear of dying. Dying, present participle, died, past simple tense, and also past participle. And then now, dead, dead, dead. Don't confuse this with death. Don't confuse this with death, because dead, in one instance, means is an adjective, as a word class, as a grammatical category, as a part of speech. Death can either be an adjective or a noun. So we are first looking at death as a noun, as an adjective, sorry. As an adjective, it means not living or no longer living. Not living or no longer living. Some examples. President Hamadu Ahidjo of Cameroon has been dead for over 30 years now. President Amadou Ahidjo of Cameroon has been dead for over 30 years now. We can also use, say, the motorcyclist was dead on arrival at the hospital. So by arrival, what was the state or his state? He was dead, meaning he had died, okay? So another example would be, he was shot dead. He was shot dead outside his home by unidentified gunmen. He was shot dead outside his home by unidentified gunmen. This means he was killed by shooting outside his home. Remember, dead in all these instances acts as an adjective. It describes the situation or the state of being of the people. But we also have dead as a noun. And as a noun, it is always in the plural. We always talk about the dead, the dead. Okay, the dead as opposed to the living. So what is the opposite of the living? The dead. The dead does not take an S, but it is always in the plural. It actually means what? It means dead people, people who have died. So we have examples such as 2 parents were among the dead in the accident on the Melong Chang Road. 2 parents, sadly, 2 parents were among the dead in the accident on the Melong Chang Road. A ceasefire has been called to allow the survivors to bury their dead. A ceasefire has been called to allow the survivors to bury their dead. Some spiritualists do communicate with the dead. Some spiritualists do communicate with the dead, especially soothsayers. There are soothsayers in some parts of the grass fields, northwest region of Cameroon, who can communicate with the dead. And now finally, death. Death. I'll say death. Don't say dead. No, death. Death. Or deaths. Deaths in plural. So this is a noun, and it is both countable and uncountable. That's why you see letter C here and letter U here. Countable, uncountable is a noun. And it is pronounced death. Death, not dead. No. So what does it mean? It means the end of life. It means the end of life. Some examples. The disease causes thousands of deaths a year. Malaria causes millions of deaths a year. The disease causes thousands of deaths a year. COVID-19, the coronavirus pandemic, has caused over 1.5 million deaths since it started. Do you believe in life after death? After death, after you are what? After you've come to the end of life. Okay? Do you believe in life after death? He never got over the death of his daughter. He never got over the death of his daughter. He will be punished for making death threats on his neighbor, threatening the neighbor with death, okay? For making death threats on his neighbor. He will be punished for making death threats on his neighbor. And then there is this expression to death. It is not actually a verb. It is an expression used with other verbs. And for example, burn to, or choke to, or put to death, okay? Burn to death, choke to death, put to death. Death, death. Remember, don't confuse death, this noun, with dead, which is an adjective and also a noun. So, examples with the expression to death. The animals burned to death in the barn. The animals burned to death in the barn. He choked to death on a fish bone. He choked to death on a fish bone. The traitor was put to death. The traitor was put to death. That is, the traitor was killed as a punishment. So on this note, we are coming to the end of this video, and as from today, please just stop confusing dead and death. And please, if you're still confused, write what is confusing you in the comment section. And please take time today as you watch this video and come to the end, write in the comment sections some of the content, some of the topics that you will be happy, you would like me to address. Some of the things that you think I have the expertise to talk about them for your benefit, for our benefit. And please remember to subscribe. Please subscribe and click on the notification button and talk to your friends about this channel. See you again next week.